everyone. And good evening, everyone. How you doing? First of all, let me just tell you that tonight we're doing a little bit different. Usualmente, você vê o vídeo na minha página pessoal, mas hoje eu vou colocá-la na minha página de Tamo Junto aqui dos eventos, enfim. Vamos ver o que vai acontecer. Ó, já estou vendo tudo aqui e agora eu vou compartilhar isso na minha página pessoal. Ó, vamos lá. Vamos compartilhar esse novo link na minha timeline. Aqui, ó. Uhul! Estamos firmeza. And I would like to start with music. Our guest tonight, local, homegrown, Chris Peck from Marin County. This first one is called Speakers. Tamo junto. I'll be right with you. Tonight, we have Chris Peck. Tamo junto, rapaziada! Alô, alô, você do Brasil! Good evening, y'all.
Mics move speakers and speakers move crowds. We do what you get in your ear holes, that's how we did it back then and we got the force again. Play something funky and turn it up loud. Mics move speakers and speakers move crowds. We do what you get in your ear hole, that's how we did it back then and we got the force again.
Good evening, everybody. Boa noite para quem é de boa noite, bom dia para quem é de bom dia. This is Paulo Presoto here, straight from San Francisco, California, in another one of those Tamo Junto. Tamo Junto, which in Portuguese means we're together. Because we're together on this one, guys. It's really something. More than ever before, we do rely on each other for many things, including Don't kill the ones that are a little weaker than you. With that being said, I would like to remind you all that this show would not be happening without the support of Brazil Bass Media. Let me get it. I got it. It fell off my mural. But this is Brazil Bass Magazine is your source of information for what's happening with the Brazilian community in the Bay Area. BrazilBass.com. They actually just released a live web radio that's super fun at BrazilBass.com. Go there. Or be square, like they say it here in America. I would like to introduce you to my old friend and musical partner, someone I have a great admiration for and has kept in one good side here in my heart. We had lots of fun times together, including like New Year's Eves and everything. It's been pretty epic. Let me introduce you to my friend. Chris Peck the Town crier is here now, guys. How you doing, Chris?
Bon noite.
Tá
Bon
vendo?
dia.
We were actually talking just right now about your trip to Africa, where you were able to use your Portuguese and Brazilian
bit.
knowledge.
Yeah, because of you, brother.
Oh, thank you, man. We've been exchanging quite a bit.
Yeah, that's right, man. You taught me a lot of songwriters and a lot of great albums from a whole depth of Brazilian music. And then one night there in Kenya, I was sitting at a long dinner table with a couple from Brazil, and we started talking about Chico Science.
Man, the other day we actually were sharing here with our folks a little bit of Mungie Express. You remember we did a cover project of Chico Science in the Bay?
Yeah.
Did I ever share that?
You got, yeah.
That was something. But the last tune we heard, Speakers. Speakers was the opening track for Groundhog's Day, correct?
Yeah, that was off of Groundhog's Day.
Yeah, that's when I met you. I was living in Court Madeira. And how did we meet, man? Did we meet in San Rafael because of Brian Wilkerson or somebody else?
Yeah, I knew about you for a while because of Vile Conundrum.
True, yeah.
I used to listen to you guys rehearse outside of your door at Renegade Studios. And so before I ever met you, I knew what you were doing.
Right on, man. And man, big shout out to Renegade Studios.
Yeah.
It was the time, man. It was
Terry
really
Morton.
amazing. Oh man.
Yeah,
What
that's
happened
true.
to Terry? Is here?
He started a microphone company, and he lives in Novato. He's a dad now.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he's got a little one, and he's doing these microphones that like mount onto the front head of a kick drum. That was his invention.
Yeah,
It like
okay.
clips onto the sound hole. It's cool.
Right on. Yeah. I'm curious to hear that and see how he's doing.
Yeah.
And Groundhog's Day, man. Tell me about the record. That was it came out as the Peck the Town crier already,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So many names. That came out on the first of the year in 2008. And I made it with a guy named Scott McDowell, who's a San Francisco recording engineer who's been keeping Hyde Street Studio C going for like 13 years. And
Wow.
Scott stepped in there really young. I think he was like 25 when he stepped in and like took that lease because a lot of recording studios were closing right then. And Scott became the guy for one of those rooms there that had a lot of history, like James Brown recorded in there and, you know, and all number of 60s classic records. And so I was in there with him a lot, and we brought in a whole lot of musicians over the course of like really a year. And Scott has continued to record a lot of great records here. And at some point I want to get back and make another record with him, but that was the last full project that I did with him.
And what's the creative story behind Groundhog's Day? Why the name? And
Yeah. It was kind of an Earth Day vibe, actually, like today. There was kind of like a hidden thread of environmentalism on that album, buried in the lyrics. And we were kind of thinking about like, okay, there's February 2nd, like Groundhog Day, singular.
Uh-huh.
And that's like the day where we kind of like predict the season changing. But what if the animal itself had a holiday that was like a different story? That was sort of like a day where they send a different message to the humans. And that's what was like the hidden theme of that record.
And you recorded a lot of instruments on that record, right?
Yeah. Yeah. There were also a ton of killer guests on there too. Like John Rogers played a lot of the drums on there. And like a lot of Bay Area horn players from like Jazz Mafia, that kind of world, came through and played on there. And it was like a fantasy album where it was like, who would be my favorite person to play organ on this song? All right, let's get Rob Shelton, let's call him. And so it was very it was like indulging a dream to call all of those different people to just show up for one track. And so when you look through the credits, there's actually like 25 players on there.
That's nice. And you're born and raised in the Bay, right? And so that helped kind of navigate this world of who am I gonna call for this track, or what's the story there? You came from a musical family. When music started popping as the thing I want to do for my life.
Yeah. Man, I kind of feel like I come from an MTV family. Like me and my big brother watching like 4 hours a day of MTV in the 80s, you know?
Oh,
And all those videos with like guitar solos in the videos where it like zooms in on the guitarist's hands and you're like, oh, so that's something about how they do it. And then my folks, neither of them play an instrument, but it's like, you know, music might skip a generation. And my grandparents on both sides were like had professional musicians in that generation, like
Oh, really?
people who played in big bands, played jazz and stuff. And so some of that got passed down to me, like talk with my grandpa or his brothers about being union musicians in Kansas City, you know, getting to play with like the Dorsey Brothers big band for a weekend just because they had their union card and horn players were needed, you know, that kind of stuff. But really it's MTV, bro, all the way.
Yeah, same here, man.
In Brazil,
Yeah,
MTV was hitting down there?
yep. They did the Brazilian version of MTV Brazil, and I think we got MTV in the early '90s, and I guess the big symbol of MTV Europe was, for example, like Dire Straits and Money for Nothing video.
Yeah.
And for us, it was really like the grunge era, and believe it or not, MTV was really rock and roll in Brazil at the beginning, and we had like Sepultura, Arise was up on the charts.
I have that CD. That's a
and
badass
then
album.
Nirvana was on the top of the charts, and so MTV came in as like the ambassador of the new alternative rock and roll coming from the States at that era. It was interesting, man. But I was a metalhead from like 11, 12 years old when I started digging Iron Maiden, and we would buy the records to just look at the artwork
Hell
and
yeah.
all that. Yeah. And
That's how you had that experience to play in, you know, in Vile Conundrum.
man,
That was
Vile
some deep
Conundrum
twisted
was
metal.
Very, very. And one of these days, man, I've been teasing Brian Wilkerson here, and and I've been teasing also Greg and Alex. We'll see what kind of rabbit we get out of that little
Yeah, baby.
bush. And
I'm going to text Brian right now and just tell him that Zoom link is in his email.
Yes, please do. Please do. I want to just quickly acknowledge our folks online here. We got Louis Bodream, straight from Brazil. He's here every night. Carolina Custoias, oi, tudo bem? Lilian Puga, Eurilene, bonsoir, or bonjour de la France. We got fans in France, and we got some folks from around the world just saying hi to us here tonight. Chris, in Groundhog's Day, did you actually have a chance to put a band together and try to promote the record tour? What was your musical uh, inclination at that time with Groundhog's Day? What were your ambitions? What happened and what did not happen?
Yeah. We played a lot in the Bay, and that band was kind of like the Cry Muscles beta version. Like a lot of the same people who ended up being on the Cry Muscles album with us were in that band. Angeline Saris was in the band, and John Rogers was on drums. Um, and at different times, we would have like horn players or like singers come through. Una Garthwaite came through
Oh
and sang
yeah,
on a couple gigs. Just a bunch of different Bay Area killers came through and did a number of gigs with us, and it was kind of places like the Elbow Room or Edinburgh Castle Pub
oh, the Edinburgh Castle. That was a
or
fun
19 Broadway
spot.
in Fairfax.
Yeah,
That's what we
Fairfax.
did.
Man, big shout out to Fairfax. There's the se você, I have to throw this one in Portuguese because some people don't know Fairfax. And in Brazil, I don't think folks realize that Fairfax, it's a really iconic town, man, in the West Marin area that still. If you go there, you feel like you're jumping into a time machine and you're going back to days where live music really mattered and art matter and small town communities matter and it's really amazing.
It's still that way.
Right? Have you at some point felt like, oh man, I have to move to LA or to New York, see if I want to make it? And
Yeah.
because there's a lot of that pressure once you have your album, your whatnot. Did you ever feel that? And did you refuse that?
That's an awesome question. And I feel like I can loop that into your first question about like what happened and what didn't happen. In my 20s, I was feverish to get out of town. I thought Marin was too small for me. And that changed kind of overnight when I turned from 29 to 30. I just suddenly embraced Marin County. It was like I had a dinner with a ton of my close friends at an Indian restaurant in San Rafael. And I woke up the next morning like, I'm staying here. And I haven't changed my mind since then. And now that's almost 10 years ago, where I just feel like this is actually the right music scene for me. I did live in New York City as a college kid, like 18 to 23. I lived there. And really what it was a lot of inspiration coming in. Like I didn't really make a lot of music when I lived in New York. I saw unbelievable jazz probably like 4 nights a week and saw a lot of DJs, drum and bass, house music, like Limelight, which is like a famous old church that they turned into like an evil dance club.
Right on, Limelight. Yeah, they tried one in São Paulo. I don't know if it worked, but it was the same name,
Limelight,
same
Sao Paulo.
concept.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But I still feel like a heart connection to New York. And when I go there, it really turns me on creatively. But I kind of feel like no matter how special you are, you're not special in New York.
Yeah, it's yeah, I haven't actually spent too much time in New York, but I do have a lot of friends, and things come and go, and one of these days you end up landing in New York to do something. But I always felt that extra pressure, and maybe I was a little like not turned on by it. So I
It's a
ended
hustle.
up, yeah, making some other options that it takes all our time. The options we make, like I see you're sitting in your studio right now. You
Yeah.
have your setup. That's the place you compose, you teach. So life is good in Marin County,
Yeah,
correct?
that's right. That's right. And it's like it did take time to get that sort of established feeling like I know I have enough students always, and I have this place to make music, and I'm stable, and I can wake up in the morning and come down here and try to record something. And there were long periods where I didn't have a space to record and write. And I don't want to go back to that. I really like.
Absolutely, man. Because it's the more we see the world, and now with this whole like staying at home and the grandpas. Oh, I was interviewing Will Maggot here the other day, and he came up with this concept of the grandpas.
Yeah.
We're all now having this amazing opportunity to just like at least look around and see what's going on. Speaking of looking around and see what was going on, you were right outside our door there during Vile Conundrum rehearsals.
Yeah,
but
baby.
what made you invite me to be part of your new project, the
Cry
Cry
Muscles,
Muscles?
baby.
Yeah, what happened there?
I think I saw you perform once. And I realized like this guy knows something about performing and about connecting with an audience. And I learned a lot of things from being in your band and from you joining the Cry Muscles. And one of those things I learned was about connecting with the crowd, because you're a maestro at that. And so I really feel like that was something
Thank you.
you did in the Cry Muscles. Like sometimes you would just surprise the hell out of us on stage, like with the
the famous.
it's out of batteries right now, or I would. It has like the siren.
We can do bullhorn, bring him a even the siren, man. I love that thing. I think the
Yeah.
bullhorn
I
has
should
so
give
much.
this to you. I should put some batteries in it and give it to you.
Yeah, thank you. I'll totally take it. It represents a lot of different things for me, actually, because one of the early representations of amplified sound I had in my childhood was this like political leader of a leftist party in Brazil, that he would go on top of trucks and go with the stang and spread his message, and I felt like that was such a powerful tool, and I really
Who
dig.
was that leftist leader?
That was Mr. Lula. Yeah. And Lula is our ex-president. Is a dude with a very long history. It's a long history of a union leader that beat the odds and became the president of our country. And because our country is built upon corruption, had to give in to such ways that condemned him later on in his political career. And I'm pretty sure there are a bunch of Brazilians out there that can do better than me here, because it's still a controversy today. Because as of like 4 months ago or 6 months ago, Lula was in prison while our current president was running an election without competition.
Oh wow, unopposed.
Yep.
So it would have been Lula versus Bolsonaro.
Oh yeah, it would have been
Wow.
if the justice system was not responsible for taking him out of action there. But then again, Tamo Junto is not about politics, and we're gonna jump to music, because music is what moves the world here in this case. One of the collaborations we did together was A Vontade. A Vontade was a song I wrote in 2008 when I was kind of homeless. I was like transitioning houses, and I was staying at my friend Sarah Rayner. Do you remember Sarah Rayner?
Absolutely.
Man, she
I
was
remember the story of the lyrics. It's so beautiful. Tell me if I got this right. You house sat for her, and she wrote you a long list of make yourself at home. The cat is a little cranky. He needs warm milk at night. We have DVDs. And you turned it into this like smooth ballad with a mean breakdown at the end. Is that
that is the story, man, and it is really funny, because that cat was really her little shodo, and all those instructions really touch my heart, because every three assertive phrases she would repeat make yourself at home, be à vontade. And à vontade is this expression of like, oh, you're welcome here. Make yourself at home and chill because this is your place too. And with that feeling, I want to play this track for everyone, and we'll come back to more conversation with Chris Peck, the Town Crier. This is À Vontade, and it's part of the record Le Chronique from 2009.
Yeah, baby.
The Cry Muscle.
Love this song.
Olha o gostinho de Brasil aí, gente.
À vontade, meu bem, à vontade, à vontade, meu bem, fica à vontade lá. Sabe como é? Vou viajar. Ah, mas que bom seria se tivesse alguém pra minha casa olhar. Preocupação, o meu gato vai ficar. É só um fim de semana e na minha casa cê pode ficar. À vontade, meu bem.
Fique à vontade.
À vontade.
Fique à vontade.
À vontade, meu bem.
Fique à vontade lá.
À vontade, meu bem.
Fique à vontade.
À vontade.
Fique à vontade. Fique à vontade lá.
O meu gato é velhinho, mas gosta de brigar. Não quero ver ele fraquinho, eu nunca vi um bicho engordar. Janela aberta, que é pro bicho entrar. Comida em lata 2 vezes por dia. Não esquece a água, mas pode ficar. À vontade, meu bem.
Fique à
À
vontade.
vontade.
Fique à vontade.
À vontade, meu bem.
Fique à vontade lá.
À vontade, meu bem.
Fique à vontade.
À vontade.
Fique à vontade.
À vontade, meu bem. Fica à vontade lá. Tem TV, antena e DVD. Tem um som bem velhinho, mas eu garanto funciona bem. Vai pro telhado, a vista é sensacional. Tem toalha no banheiro, não se acanhe, é só ficar. À vontade, meu bem.
Fique à vontade.
À vontade.
Fique à
À vontade, meu
vontade.
bem.
Fique à vontade lá.
À vontade, meu bem.
Fique à
À
vontade.
vontade.
Fique à
À vontade, meu bem.
vontade. Fique à vontade.
E se por acaso um acidente rolar, liga pra minha mãe, liga pro bombeiro, mas não vai me ligar. Este fim de semana preciso me concentrar. Escolhi uma nova gata e pelo jeito a gente vai ficar. À vontade. À vontade. À vontade. À vontade. Casa es su casa, mi amigo.
Mi casa es su casa, mi amigo.
Words to live
This,
by.
this was A Vontade. We recorded this at the Expression College in Emeryville. And I
Yeah.
remember we had students as part of the session. It was super fun. And we brought every single one in the class to be part of the A Vontade choir at
That's
the
right.
end,
The
man.
students sang with you. Yeah, you led them.
That
Man,
was
you
so
really
fun.
produced that track all the way through. I remember that. Like you had Roberto Rios
Roberto Rios on percussion. Yes, he
tracking all
recorded
those
that little
instruments.
cuica. He recorded the surdo. We have Brian Wilkerson. Are we? Do we? It's Brian or Angie on this one?
You know what? It was me playing bass, and you coached me because I was really having trouble with the groove. And you were like, Chris, it's going to be with the surdo drum. You got to find that Brazilian bass line. I think you called it like the bomba or something like that. You had, like,
Yeah.
you had some word for it, and I was like, is this it? Is this it? And eventually you were like, that's it. Let's record that, you know?
And Luciana is on backing vocals. It was super fun to produce that, man. And that was part of Les Chroniques, which also has some composition partnerships, right? Yeah, you want to talk a little bit about that? Because Les Chroniques, when it came out, it was like a fine epic. I remember the release, the one page online that you would go and see the full album.
Hell yeah.
Who's in that record?
Yeah, it's a big one. It was so collaborative. And nowadays you might even call it like a mixtape because so many sounds. It was really like multicultural what we were doing. Wow, is that Brian there?
Yep.
Looking sharp. Wow.
we're gonna bring him on in a little bit. You see him? Yep, coming up, man.
There he is. Yeah, buddy.
What's up, fellas?
In his home studio.
Yep.
Well, Brian Wilkerson was definitely in the Cry Muscles.
Welcome to our Tamo Junto live here. Everyone, this is Brian Wilkerson. How you doing?
I'm doing so good. I'm so happy to see you guys, man.
This is so
awesome.
fun, right?
Yeah, this is good.
Yeah.
A little
And
togetherness.
so we're just talking about Les Chroniques and how you were also part of the Cry Muscles. So the Cry Muscles came out of Peck the Town crier leading the band, right?
Goes.
And Peck, how was the rest of the production Les Chroniques there, and so we can start playing some tracks from that album.
Yeah, we
man.
kind of lucked out because they gave us 12 free recording sessions at Expression College. And it was like the same class of kids the whole time. You remember that? We
Yeah,
had like
I
the
do.
same 6 kids, and some of them were really good engineers, and the teachers were really hip. And so like Brian came in, sometimes Angeline Saris came in, Chris Dietrich, who now is teaching music at Marin Academy, and John Rogers came in, and Roberto Rios. And then vocalists, we all like recruited different vocalists in there. Greg Scott was on there.
Yeah.
Aisling Cole was in there. And Greg and Aisling sang on a song that Chris Dietrich wrote that was like this very big, like almost gospel reggae song. Huge energy on that one. And what was the woman's name who sang on Avantage?
Luciana Gouveia was her name. Yeah, she was also living in Berkeley at the time. Her husband was going to Berkeley, but she's back to Brazil now. And she's got this very like Brazilian Northeast type of vocals. It really reminds me of the forró singers. And you guys know about forró, right? It's like I have one foot on the northeast of Brazil still. And the new the next track I want to play is like Les Chroniques Part 1. And that one Brian was like involved from the get-go there, right? Tell us the story there.
Yeah. Brian composed the whole intro line and taught it to me. And we had this kind of like really snaky thing happening in the beginning.
Yeah, man. I remember it was always a trip because right when we ended up in each other's orbit around Renegade Studios, like that was a moment in my life, in my musicianship, where I really felt like I needed to push myself a little bit harder than I had been. And it was cool. Like this session, like doing La Chronique and doing all those expression sessions and meeting all you cats and just like expanding the range of the people I know and everything was really cool. It was a really like formative experience for my life as a musician. And that song in particular, that was really cool. Like when we were just working that out, because I think you and I had just been rapping. We've been talking about like Jocko and Early Weather Report and stuff, and being like,
Yeah.
oh, there's some common ground here.
Yeah.
I see your kung fu. So it was cool.
Very cool. And you're talking about the tarantula fingers here, fellas. If you
baby.
if you don't know it, now you know it. And we talked a little bit of the work with Vile Conundrum, where we were experimenting with this progressive metal and the evolution of all the arrangements of those tunes were really amazing. Your bass playing is superb there as well. What are you doing in this quarantine, Brian Wilkerson? What's going on? I see a bunch of videos out from your students and the stuff you're doing online. You're thriving, huh?
Well, it's thriving. My hair's getting long, and there's definitely some muscular atrophy kicking in and everything. But you know, I'm living over in Santa Fe. I'm pretty lucky. My school transitioned to distance learning pretty quick, and so like you know, I just dug my heels in and just got with the program, learned how to do all this stuff, which I didn't know how to do. So I mean, that was kind of a silver lining of things getting rough. I'm lucky. Not a lot of our fellow Americans have been lucky on this whole thing, which is a fucking tragedy. But yeah, I've just been teaching. I've been like just throwing together a cappella videos. And for all you cats, anybody who's actually watching on here, anybody who wants to collaborate in this day and age right now, like that's a platform that makes it real easy to just generate content, work together, and still feel like we're kind of touching each other.
A cappella, right?
A cappella, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of good stuff. I also want to give a shout out to the Ace Bay cats from Falsos Baianos, and they do choro music, which is like it's jazzy but really old school Brazilian from the 20s and 30s, and everyone is doing via a cappella, and great arrangements are coming out of it.
How do you spell that band name?
The band, the Shoto music.
Yeah.
It's a Choro. It's Shoto. It's a music style from the early 20th century. It's very interesting. It's mostly instrumental music, and Falsos Baianos is the band that from Oakland, and they're like the fake Baianos. Baiano is someone that is born in Bahia, which is the state in Brazil, and I guess because they're not real Baianos, they're like fake Baianos. They call themselves the Falsos Baianos. Anyways, and I want to go ahead and play Le Chronique Part 1, and then we'll come back. We'll talk a little bit more Cry Muscles. We'll be here with Chris Pack and Brian Wilkerson. Check this out, baby. Le Chronique Part 1. This was 2009. We're together here, everyone, every night from 8 to 9 in California. Tamo junto.
c'est le chronique. And I don't mean the plant. Rather, I mean all plants and all things that grow in the Cali soil. And when I say soil, I mean dirt, but also rock, hilltop, sidewalk, even the wood floor of the discotheque. And when I say discotheque, I mean not only the place where the DJ spins the records, but any place where the vibe is allowed to vibe and the realness can hypnotize the tribe. Oui, California, ça, c'est le chronique. C'est la vie, the art of the hang, native to this place.
Ça c'est la vie, ça c'est les chroniques. You even found the girl with the French accent, man. That's amazing.
Aisha, yeah. She has stayed in touch to this day. Like she'll just come to a show every now and then. And actually, I met her through Craigslist. Like that was totally the age of Craigslist.
Oh yeah, man. Les Français, they love Craigslist. Yeah, I think it really works when they're in the Bay. Oh, well, speaking of loving, let me give some shout outs. We have Melanie Shivari here asking why are we not dancing. We have Shakti Kennedy
That's my
saying,
sister.
"Man, that's good. It's good stuff. Doing it 2009 style, man. I like that." Dave Rennell, he's in El Cerrito, and Dave Rennell has this incredible project. I'm wearing his shirt tonight. That's why he's like, "Hey, dude, you're wearing my shirt." It's Sunny Day. It's a Brazilian jazz mixed with American folk. That it's a really great record. And
Hello,
speaking
you're
of,
looking pretty fit in that shirt, by the way.
oh, thank you, man.
Staying healthy in quarantine.
Trying my best. What are you doing in this quarantine that's keeping you like nice and fit?
You know what? There's a guy named Jomial Allen Jones, bass player in Marin, who's been leading Kung Fu on Facebook.
Oh, nice.
And he just puts up a little PayPal for donations, and he just does like a half hour. It's this thing called Siu Nim Tao. It's like a form where you hold a lot of tension and move through these things almost with like kind of a quivering amount of tension. And that's really new to me. But after I do it, my wrists feel great. I don't get any wrist pain while I'm playing guitar or teaching or anything. So I've been doing those forms like half an hour a day for the last 2 weeks straight.
That's nice, man. And speaking of donations and PayPal and all that, our donation Venmo handle is up there. Times have been rough for the freelance and the producers and the everyone that works with gigs. So if you feel like it, yeah, throw some money at us. We'll take it. Yeah. Brian, but back into your teaching business, man. You've been doing a lot of teaching. I'm seeing you out there really inspiring these young fellas, girls, boys. And tell me more about the platform you're using. Were you teaching a regular conservatory? Where do we find you there?
So I'm one of the main music teachers over at Mark Day School. It's a little independent K-8 school over in Centerville. Wait, Chris, aren't you an alum of Mark Day School?
I am once upon a time.
Once upon a time, man.
Back
So
when it used to be called St. Mark's.
went St. Mark's School. So yeah. So my predecessor was I think he was teaching there because he was the guy who started it all up, Richard Navarrete. And I hope he's listening right now. If he is, I miss you, brother. Hope you're well.
Yeah.
He decided to retire about 2 years ago, and as soon as it came up, it was just one of those moments where I almost talked myself out of it. I was like, I can't do this job, and I don't want this. And then I just asked myself afterwards, I was like, why am I not applying for this job? And I went for it, and it's great. Like, I love the community there. It's a really sweet group of human beings. Like, the kids are great. A lot of the parents are just super supportive and have had my back. They've been, I've been teaching their kids through this long arc since I met you guys and met, Chris Dietrich. That whole nucleus from whence we all came kind of like carried me to this place where I could walk through this door, which is, inspiring and not to be taken for granted. So,
and you guys were super quick in jumping into online platforms to keep your classes going. It's it's an example, man, because many schools out there are still trying to figure this out. How was that response when it got to you guys? Okay, so what are we gonna do now?
I mean, there was a lot of talk about it beforehand, but we were very hesitant to pull the trigger because we really looked at just how many layers of impact that was going to have on our families and our community and everything too. So when it came down to it, we pretty much just stepped in line with what the local health officials were recommending, because what else are you supposed to do in that situation? So we did. And, we're really lucky. I mean, our technology department and our admin team, they hustle, and they really did like a lion's share of the work of just taking an entire school, flipping the entire thing on its head, and transitioning us over into distance learning. I mean, there was a lot of hours of sleep missed for everybody, but we got there, and it's not perfect. What is? I mean, this isn't normal. So how do we know it's perfect at this point in the 21st century with a global pandemic going on right now? I'd say, all things considered, it could be worse. And, one step at a time. I don't know what else
One
to
step
say.
at a time, man. Yeah, we've been here
But Brian,
talking to.
I gotta say, like, you sparked me to adapt fast because I was seeing you on Instagram. Like, first you posted a picture of your 21st century music classroom.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, Brian is such a setup maestro. Like,
thanks,
it just
man.
looked like a Star Trek console.
No, it's an old video game addict that like found something to grab a hold of again. So
But all ideas have to come from somewhere, man.
yeah, man.
I saw that and I was like, dude, I got to step my game up.
Your game looks good right now, dude. Look
Yeah,
at your
it's,
video.
Thanks, buddy.
speaking
Yeah,
of
yeah. I've been
speaking
teaching
of,
from
of
here. Yeah,
games that look good, we're gonna jump right into more possibilities. That's what we're
Oh,
gonna do.
snap. Okay.
Well, Brian
Nice segue.
Wilkerson is here with us, man. I would like to thank you for coming on the show and
Yeah,
dude.
and hoping that we can connect. Maybe we can do a vital conundrum show if we can pull this out of our.
Yeah, you better not make a promise you can't keep, brother.
I know, no, but I'm just saying. But I can't keep it without all the members of the band, and we'll talk about that later.
hear
But
you.
Yeah.
thanks for inspiring us to be smart and adapt fast on this reality. Say hi to your mom, your dad, your brother, your uncle, everyone in your household that I love,
Will do, man.
that has been part of my life here in California. It's good to see you, brother.
Good to see
Really
you too, man.
appreciate it.
Brian, you're the
Thanks,
man.
Thank you guys for what you doing, man. Appreciate
Great
it.
to
yeah.
see your face, brother.
Thank you, dude. Later, man.
Later.
All right. And Brian will keep hanging here with us. I will go ahead and jump to your website so we can see that gallery of videos.
Yeah, baby.
How'd you organize that thing, man? It's just a pretty savvy thing.
That's an ancient WordPress site. And everybody's telling me like, you got to switch to Squarespace or something, but it has my whole history on it. And I just haven't made time to like switch that into a new medium. And really that video page is the part that I'm proudest of because it's like 18 videos in a long page that I've made starting back in whatever 2008, all these collaborations, whether it's music videos or like a live capture or so I always send people that link as sort of like the best quick primer on what I do.
It totally works, man. And see how pretty it is. I love the yellow, by the way, man. The yellow is something. And you put your videos all up here, super quick and easy. And we want to go ahead and play the video of Possibilities that was recorded
Yeah, there it is.
live at Translucid in Marin County, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, baby. Let's talk about
that's-
Possibility. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's Ancient Baby, the band that has a bunch of North Bay folks in it. It's Angeline Saris on bass here, and Sean Nelson on drums, and Adam Bowers playing steel guitar and singing. And this has been like a solid lineup for 5 years now. Some people have come and gone from the lineup, but really this quartet has been the most constant throughout the last 5 years. And just right up until Shelter in Place, we were out gigging this band and playing the music from the Ancient Baby album. And so,
Right on. Ancient Baby album, which is the latest of Chris Peck that we'll be talking more when we return after Possibilities.
1, 2, 3, 4. Possibilities, possibilities, possibilities,
ability of ease. Oh, why can't I see it? Oh, why can't I see it? Whatever will be, whatever will be, whatever will be, whatever will be, oh, yeah. Subterranean, terranean resistance. Subterranean, terranean emotions. Buried underground, where the gold is found. So let's not dig it, let's just leave it there. Don't need to see it, just leave it there. On the town, oh yeah. Predictions yet, predictions for he's saved. No predictions yet, predictions for he's saved. From the spinning wheels, they don't like you standing still. In their way, in their way. Hey! Nostalgia can stop me. No, nostalgia can stop me. Oh, from looking forward. Sorry, Jimi Hendrix, I'm letting you go. I'm doing it now, right now. Possibilities, ability of ease. Possibilities, ability of ease. No nostalgia can stop me. Possibilities, possibility of ease.
All right, possibilities. That's what we're talking about here, folks. I am here tonight with Chris Peck the Town Crier, reminding everyone that we're here every night from 8 to 9 p.m. in California, 12 a.m. to 1 a.m. in Brazil. And this show would not be possible without Brazil Best Magazine, your channel to be informed about what's going on in the Brazilian community in the Bay Area. They recently released their online radio station, and I'm there. I'm making available all the audio from Tamo Junto down there. You can just come find the show and all that good stuff. BrazilBest.com. Also remind everyone, if you're watching now and you received a little mail from the government saying please complete the census 2020, it's a good thing to do, I gotta tell you. We had a partnership with the Children's Network of Solano County where they ran a campaign on Census Day to incentivize everyone to complete the census, because that's the only way the federal government has to know how to distribute federal funding. So it's really important that all the kids get counted and everyone in your household. Don't miss that. Go ahead and fill that out so we have what we need. Chris Peck, let's talk Asian Baby. When was that released?
We put it out last May 3rd, 2019. And it was an epic journey getting to that point because the album got recorded a few separate times before eventually releasing it. I recorded it once in here using like my own tape machine and stuff. And then I met Ethan Turner and really saw his studio out in Inverness, and recorded a different thing with him, a film score for my brother. And I realized what a tasteful producer and musician Ethan is. And I just turned right around and did a Kickstarter so that I could raise some funds and work with him. And that's when we started in earnest working on that record and tracking it all to a big 2-inch tape machine. And
Is it all tape?
yeah, the new album is all tape, 95%. And fitting that, we put it out on vinyl, but also as a book, and had a friend of mine named Rose Pearson draw probably like 30 illustrations that we used to kind of pepper throughout the book. Actually, let me show it to you. Hang on
Yes,
1 second.
please. I would love to see it. Hi, I see Kevin Welsh just joined us. Hey, Kevin, how are you? Beleza? We're here with Chris Peck. Let me see those illustrations.
Yeah, this is the book version that we used to release like the Home 5 version of the album. And my friend Brandon Loberg, he's like a local publisher. He did all the layout. And so it's like on every page, there's lyrics for a song and then an illustration on every single page. And Rose did these kind of beautiful drawings of like animals interacting with human society. So like this deer wants to go to town and like have an espresso possibly, you know? And this is for people who like don't have a record player or a CD player anymore, but they still want some kind of totem to locate the music by. You know, it's not
Absolutely,
it's not just a
man.
link in the back of your mind. It's like something that can sit on your windowsill
Yeah.
and like be a little warmer.
And seriously, I mean, for the kids, if anything, because I remember when I was a kid, and I see my daughter now going through my CDs. Sure, she also has her Spotify playlist, but it's just sit with a child and give them a record that they can see the images. It's such an amazing experience.
Yes. Way
it-
different than a link. Way different than a phone.
And oh, the one track we heard was live at Translucid, but I have some studio versions of here that I would like to play. I have Bruce Lee, and Bruce Lee is part of Ancient Baby as well, right?
Yeah.
So I want to hear the taste of tape, and then when we come back, we talk about more about Ancient Baby and Bruce Lee here with Chris Peck the Town Crier.
For so long I've walked in a shadowy world. Death and destruction were my traveling mates. And were it not for the grace of something greater than me, I would have stayed below there for the rest of my days. And all along the choice was mine, yeah, to sign my name upon the dotted line. Do-do-do-do-do, Bruce Lee, baby, it's on. I can get my kicks with the master. He or she will teach with the song. Love it, do it without hesitation, yeah. Dum-da-da-da-da-da, dum-da-da-da-da, dum-da-da-da, oh yeah. Dum-da-da-da-da, yeah. I've started on my quest even though I'm tired. I can feel my muscles burn with the serpentine fire. And I'll be moving with the force of something greater than me. Won't stop till when I get to where there ain't nothing higher. I'm gonna leave behind the heartaches and pain, yeah. It only takes a lot of courage and strength. trophy song. Love it, do it. Love it, do it without hesitation. Love it, do it. Love it, do it without hesitation. Love it, do it. Whoa, love it, do it without hesitation. Love it, do it. Love it, do it without hesitation.
Kicks with the master.
Good ear, good ear.
I love it, man. And was it your intention to do something like ancient, baby? Is that what the whole concept of recording on tape and compositions with real instruments and nothing digitized? Was that?
Yeah, your intuition is really good. It's exactly that we wanted to do something rootsy. Go back to my roots. I feel like my very first musical hero, we were talking about that before we came on live, was probably Tom Petty. And I love how connected he was to the roots of rock and roll. He was a real scholar of old school 7-inch records of rock and roll. And this album kind of has some of that like 50s rock energy, and it seemed appropriate to do it on tape because of that.
Right on. Yeah, I can feel it's really like for audio people and folks that like to listen to things from top to bottom, it's the taste of it. Those little frequencies that just they fall right into that special spot.
Easier. You can turn it up loud and it doesn't hurt your ears. It's weird. Even heavy metal. If you record heavy metal on tape, you can turn it up loud and it sounds all right. It doesn't hurt.
True that. And I've been asking this question for all my guests here at Tamo Junto. I know you're a guy that already produces at home. And we started the conversation there, like how nice it is to have a space to stay in, to compose, to dive in. But has something dramatically changed for you during this quarantine that you feel it was somewhat enlightening for you that you will take as a lesson when this is all said and done?
Yeah. Well, I think this phase is going to be longer than anybody realizes. I feel like it might be a year and a half of going in and out of restricted amounts of freedom and togetherness. And so I still feel like I'm learning a lesson right now, like I'm coming into some kind of lesson, and I'm still sort of upkeeping a certain level of busyness and multitasking that I had going on before this time. But there have been certain periods of like 2 or 3 days where I just got deep into one set of activities. Like I was just gardening, doing Kung Fu, and teaching guitar, and that's it. You know,
that's amazing. You see, it's a miracle. The grand pause. It's a miracle that we can actually make that happen. You were saying I'm a different kind of busy now. What do you mean by that?
That's a good way to say it, actually. Yeah, different kind of busy now. Because I'm still finding out how to fill up the days and learning how to market my services as a teacher differently. I started a Patreon right away after shelter in place came down. And I've been starting to kind of work on video remote lessons that are like 5 minutes, 10 minutes long. That's just a piece of content that's evergreen. Like that video will be relevant forever. And I can use it to like relate something about rhythm or about using your body or scales and modes, or a short video about the art of songwriting. And that's something I'd like to do in time also. And maybe another profound thing is that it's been a relief in some ways. And Brian's right that we are lucky that this time is working okay, that we have good shelter, we have some amount of employment or unemployment support. A lot of people are really stressed out right now.
Absolutely.
So
yeah. A big,
I'm
big
lucky.
shout out to folks that are out there. And I engaged in a conversation the other day. It's the freedom we have of not coming or not going. It's almost a flip concept where we can actually afford stay in and do what we need to do in order to try to contain this pandemic. Yeah, man, I am super happy to have you. And you think that we're
too.
gonna enter now a blue phase, or is
I would love to.
or is that just because you never stop? Since I met you, you've always like either been playing, been teaching, developing your studio. And Ancient Baby came out in 2019, right before we were all forced to be home. You were playing, you were out and about, and then you released something you already were working on in the early 2020 here. Let's talk about that a little bit. Is that what we're gonna listen next? Blue Phase.
Yeah, this is another collaborative band with a poet named Tongo Eisen Martin, who I've known since I was a kid. And starting in 2012, we started making recordings together. And then in about 2015, we started performing together. And he's a really powerful poet and powerful person. And so this album came out January 31st, and it's our second album. And this particular tune, Blue Phase, he mentions that phrase in the middle of the song. He says, "This is my blue phase, baby." And I think he's talking about Picasso's blue phase and kind of bringing that into his own life. And this song was like a three-way co-write because there's a great songwriter and vocal samurai named Miriam Speyer.
Oh, I know Miriam. She's in Tennessee now, huh?
Yeah, although she's sheltering in place in San Francisco as far
Oh,
as I
is
know.
she?
She was here when it
okay.
came down, and she was like, "Okay, I'll go to the beach. All good."
Oh yeah, man. She was in Gringa, one of the Brazilian all-female bands led by Maya Finley, and man,
I remember that band.
Great player.
I'm a big fan of Miriam. And
Yeah,
this
she
was
is
the
great.
first time, I think. She also sang on a couple songs on the Ancient Baby album. But with this song, it was a full-on collaboration because she was already out in Nashville. And I just sent her the track and I said, do whatever you want to do and write some lyrics and write a whole arrangement. And so it's kind of like Tongo does his poem for the first half of the song, and then Miriam does her poem for the second half of the song as this big, spectacular vocal arrangement. So you'll recognize her voice when she comes in.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Man, I would like to thank you. It's the end of our hour here, guys. I would like to thank everyone online, our small but mighty audience. I see Ellie James, Betania Bezerra, Lilian Pulga,
What's up, Ellie?
Kevin Welsh up there, Melanie, Louis Baudrin in Brazil, my friend Erilene in France, Celso Bryce from Brazil Best, always giving us support. The show is intended to become a community media outlet where we keep on checking up on our friends. We talk about music, we stay healthy, we try our best to keep our sanity and show the good and the bad sides of being shelter in place here in the Bay Area. Chris, would like to thank you one more time for being here with me, man. I'm going to throw Blue Face.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I hope to be seeing you all tomorrow. This was Peck the Town Crier.
Heck yeah.
All right, everyone. I wish you all a very good night. Remember, stay inside, stay healthy, keep your mind clear, your body healthy.
I was better with a pint in the car settling down. You didn't mind, better he spent money on liquor than gas. I almost wrote a song for a porch yesterday, but then I remember what happened last time. It was the beginning of the end, and besides, I don't compliment dresses often, must mean we married, which means the first line wasn't necessary, or more necessary than ever. You have misunderstood skin. It is a two-way stage in a world of no crowds. I mean, I need to write this outside, where none of my family lives, and I don't know every angle of the altar outside, where I don't know what your hall lights will say next, where your number don't work, where I got more serious looking friends. I mean, I was just thinking about you and your cigarette. I had it bad, worse than you, if you can believe that. I remember every night trying to care for 2 weeks straight, from midnight to 2 in the morning, and just like now, I took a lot of breaks and ignored the rules like shit. By now, I should have set the ransom money on fire, pistol by the porch. This porch ain't for you, this my blue phase, baby, blue phase. Then body drop, then my blank luck, then my phone rings, then she's a window at 4 in the morning, and I believe in nothing, then I forget to eat, then I know what line is next, and you do too, but let me say that the night air got nothing on my name. They say lions destroy all but that last home. And when hotel door rooms come true, and spirits don't take sides, the loving is good and sorta all over the place. Let's not say anything for the next 5 minutes, and also the last 10 minutes tomorrow. Has the liquor run its course? Woke up a new intellectual with a girlfriend and no bad habits. I can unmake that porch if you want. Go ahead, take all the 1:37 a.m. you need. Has gravity ever wished to defy you? Can you take my heart rate home while I crash at my lady's house, bruh? She won't let her sleep on the couch. I told her it'd be well behaved, but no. It reminds her of runaway buses. Love-hate relationship, I'd say.
Whatever phase you are, blue, red, yellow, or black, remember, they could all be good phases. One more time, you were here with Tamo Junto. We're together throughout this thing, guys. I had Chris Peck, my special guest, composer, local, homegrown, fresh. You'll find him is super easy. Just click and you'll see the list of albums, videos, and all the things. One more time, I will be seeing you tomorrow if you come back, because if you don't, then I will not be seeing you. So please do. Later.